Miss Katria.
Good morning. Today I'm going to be speaking about...
Katria, the CD you gave me is broken.
What?
You knew that I needed the CD for class. You did this just to spite me.
Sure,
Now I can't find none of my files and I have class in an hour.
I'm in the middle of a speech right now. I don't have time to deal with your trivial mess.
No, you need to help me because you gave me this messed up CD.
I need to help you?
Yes.
I didn't even have to give you the CD in the first place. You're the idiot that doesn't know how to use it. How about you pause? Rewind. Now, by a show of hands, if you had just gotten hit by an angry person, how many of you would not hesitate to hit them back? Yeah, that's what I thought. And if I'm right about this, most of us were influenced by one particular person. No, this person of influence was not LL Cool J. It was Mama. After I was born, my mom became a temporary stay-at-home mom because she wanted to make sure that I was old enough to tell her if something happened to me while at school. So she felt that I was ready about at the age of 3. So on my first day of school, as we were leaving the house, she stops and says to me, she says, "Tria, if somebody hits you, you better hit them back." And most of the time, that's the way things are in American society. However, according to psychologist Dr. Bill Crawford, in most other cultures, the idea is not to get hit in the first place. Today, I will not be teaching you how to dodge physical punches, rather how to dodge verbal blows. I will inform you of 3 ways to diffuse conflict before it begins. Now, when I was confronted with a difficult person earlier, there were many things that I did wrong. One thing I did wrong was take everything she said to heart. Naturally, when someone makes untrue accusations of us and we respond by getting defensive, which usually adds fuel to the fire. This brings me to my first point. When dealing with a difficult person, don't take things personally. We all say things that we don't necessarily mean when we are angry. For example, I remember once when I was 8 or 9, I got into a big argument with my parents, and without thinking, I screamed, "I wish I was never born." My own eyes widened in shock that I'd said something like that, and tears began streaming down my face. When my mom asked me why I was crying, I replied, "Because now I'm going to die tonight because I wished I was never born." No, I didn't die that night, as you can see, but I did say something I didn't mean. We must consider this when dealing with difficult people. The moment we get offended, we throw our anger into the situation, and it becomes an actual conflict. Now you might be thinking, "Katria, I just can't not take things personally." Yes, you can. My second point will address that. Difficult people are difficult for a reason. Whether they are chronically difficult, which means they've been like that all of their lives, or acutely difficult, which means it's something that's temporary. Finding that reason will allow us to develop compassion and understanding. Eric Hoffer, an American social writer, once said, "Compassion is the antitoxin of the soul. Where there is compassion, even the most poisonous impulses remain relatively harmless." If I was able to ignore the angry exterior of the difficult person I was dealing with earlier and view the fragile interior, I would have easily seen that she was afraid of not being prepared for her next class, and possibly afraid of receiving a failing grade. The compassion and understanding that I developed from looking at the details would have allowed me a more level head and avoid taking things personally. My third and final tip on diffusing conflicts before it begins is simple. Listen. More often than not, the difficult person has a point they're trying to get across to you, and by not only hearing their point, but by listening to it, you will immediately receive the keys to their cooperation. There is one particular phrase Dr. Bill Crawford recommends to use to demonstrate that you listen to a person. And that's, "I can understand why you would be upset by this." It doesn't necessarily imply that you agree with them, because, I mean, come on, it's hard to agree with difficult people. But it shows that you listen enough to understand their feelings. By listening to a person, you know what to do to appease them, and then with that knowledge, you can come to a compromise. So, with the knowledge of the 3 ways to diffuse conflict before it begins, not taking things personally, showing compassion, and listening, I feel that I now know enough to alter the conflict that I dealt with so poorly at the beginning of class. Play!
Katria, the CD you gave me is broken.
Shantae, I didn't know the CD was broken. I'm sorry.
You need to help me because you gave me this broken CD.
Well, listen. listen, I'm in the middle of a class right now, but I can come help you after class if you could just give me 2 more minutes to finish up my presentation.
Okay, but only for a couple of minutes.
Okay. In Joyce Meyer's book, Do Yourself a Favor and Forgive, she says that we can learn to control our anger, but we cannot control the anger of other people. I hope my presentation has given you all helpful ways to control yourself to diffuse conflict with difficult people before it begins. Thank you.